Hello. Hello, and welcome. Titanic. I was thinking in my head of possible names. I was like, go home, Tits, you're drunk. Like, Titanic's drunk, but her nickname is Tits. But I don't know if I can have Tits in the title. I mean, I don't know if I can have tights in the tittle. All right. It's got out of hand quickly. So there was a 300-foot gash. And who was it that said this? I'm going back to my cabin to read. I'm not sure who said that. But Guggenheim said, he's the one that said, like, we're going down in our best. The captain was named Edward Smith. Where's the date? Oh, these are the worst notes I've ever done. Albert A. Stewart had a stake in Barnum and Bailey Circus. I've mixed the conspiracy theory notes all in with like just this is weird. Most common form of marine fraud, someone said in something I watched, is switching ships. If that's true, then how come everyone who says that it wasn't switched says that you couldn't have because there was like way too many individual items, not even every panel of wood, the Titanic's number was 401. I didn't want to get into I don't know. I'll talk about both, I guess, but because I didn't even really ever look into that before. Honestly, though, if I had to decide one way or the other without saying I can't, I would say that the conspiracy is not true. Honestly, and I guess I should show you why. But I'll do that in a minute. So 1,540 lives were lost. Wait. Later I heard 1,517. Just say over 1,500. Hello. Good to see you. I appreciate your patronage. Appreciate your patronage. Most common form, the International Mercantile Marine Group equals owners of Titanic. Over 700 of the 900 employees of the Titanic had died. Yeah, what about the guys that got locked in the ship below? They shut them in. And a lot of them didn't expect to live, if something went wrong. It's just weird. It's called the Edwardian era, or some people say it's the end of the Edwardian era. Maybe I can show you what comes up when you search Edwardian. Share. Archie. Okay. We're talking. Okay, this is the weird sort of hair, pile, this weird, bloop, right on top. Bloop, like a dollop. How do they get their hair to stay like that? And it's just interesting, I guess. She's black. I kind of like the clothing. Strange. Edwardian. Let's look at men. Edwardian. Oh, it's all salacious. Edwardian? Edwardian? Edwardian. Edwardian? Okay. The men had some super silly mustaches. Mwah! Anyway. What up? Yeah, so I was just going to talk about the Titanic, and there is a conspiracy theory that he keeps coming up. JP Morgan, man. He's back. Old bulbous nose. They claim he'd had... Oh. Okay, yes, hello. They say it wasn't because he was an alcoholic. They say it was like a skin condition he had. But anyway, JP Morgan, he's like who looks like the Monopoly Man. And the Monopoly Man is based on him. He owns White Star Lines. Doodle Squatch. Welcome. That's correct. William Murdoch was the first officer. Jack Phillips was like the guy in the Radio Shack. I mean, there were radio. It's so weird because it's like it was like fairly new. So people would stop by the little shack and be like, they're all in there like transcribing messages, doing a Morse code, I believe. I think that Titanic was the first ship to ever use SOS. It was switching. It used to be like QCD or something weird, and it was changed to SOS. And they sent the first SOS. Several tons of ice fell on the starboard well deck. Hold on. Okay. Look at this boat. This is the front of it. This is the bow. The sides are called beams, apparently. So the right is called starboard and the left is called port. To the rear, it's like the stern and then the bow over here. Is it the bow or the bow? How do you pronounce it? Astern? Don't be astern with me just because that would be my joke. I'm embarrassed. I don't mean to be astern with you. Astern ahead? Whatever. Starboard's on the right and port's on the left. Yeah. Beam. Abaft. Like Scientology is all about these friggin' sea terms. It's kind of funny because I don't mean to do it, but like boats keep coming up on this like thing I do on this. Do you understand the terms? Cool. We don't need it anymore. Where are my notes? Hey, that's a don't. What's the word? Don't patronize me. Already learning stuff? Well, if you say so, guys. Jack Phillips, the one. He's in the fucking the shack, the Radio Shack. Yeah. So anyway, they're stopping by. They're like trying to like send messages to their friends and like at ports and like it's kind of spotty whether a message will be received and whatnot and just newish. So okay. Anyway, several tons. He's the one doing it. There's a picture of him somewhere. He died. He didn't make it. He looks young. Several tons of ice fell on the starboard well deck. So there definitely was an iceberg. I don't know like how far you went into the thing. But 10 minutes after the iceberg, someone heard a hissing sound coming from the locker where the anchor chains are stored. And it was air being pushed out as water rushed in. Yeah. Lowest in the ship and closest to the bow. Water coming in. Even depth on the floor. Lowest in the ship. What? I already read that. Captain Edward Smith, that guy. This weird captain. Okay, so there is definitely some weird stuff about Captain Edward. Because he, like, fucking crashed. Is this... Where is the... I want to see where the Olympic is crashing with the Hawk. There's like the stupid... Where is it? Okay, I'll just go. Olympic HMS Hawk. I do have notes on it too. Okay, so on September 20th, 1911, hold on. I think I have this on the page 4. Did I not? I must have X'd out. I'll just do the guy. Edward Smith. Speaking of Edwardian, the captain's name is Edward Smith. Did not survive. Where do you scream? I'm the king of the world. The bow. You get talked out of suicide on the stern. Edward John Smith, British naval officer. He looks like the guy in the movie if you've seen the movie. I don't really need to share his picture. But he served as master of numerous White Star Line vessels, captain of the RMS Titanic, and perished when the ship sank on its maiden voyage. And I say maiden voyage because... So he's the same one who crashed the goddamn Olympic, like... When was that? That was my chair, my hand. Hawk accident, whatever. Okay, so September 20th, 1911, Olympic's first major mishap. And Olympic is the Titanic's sister ship, so they look almost identical to each other. Iceberg, ice, fire, Firestein. Harvey Firestein did it. I don't know who that is. Is that a person? Oh, I already did. Adriatic. These names are silly. Okay. So yeah. He's driving the Olympic. I say driving, whatever. There's a British warship called the HMS Hawk. The warship lost her prow? What the hell is a prow? God damn it. Although the collision left 2 of Olympic's compartments filled with one of her propeller shafts twisted, she was able to limp back to Southampton. Yeah, her massive size generated a suction that pulled the Hawk into her side. And if I'm not mistaken, this thing that crashed into it did quite a bit of damage to the Olympic because it was like meant to do quite a bit of damage if it were needing to ram a boat ever. But it was an accidental collision. Well, we should show a picture now that I... The hole in the Olympic on the left, see? Wait a minute. So is that the front or the back of the Olympic? Is the picture backwards? Because supposedly all the conspiracy theories are like that's the same spot that the damage... Oh, wait, I can make it bigger. The damage below the waterline being much greater than that above. Oh. The bow of the Hawk, look, the damage being so great that the ram has been mashed flat. Anyway, that's just weird that he... When did this occur again? Crap. I mean, it's that same captain that crashed that boat. That's so weird. Subsequent trial pronounced Hawke to be free of any blame. During the trial, a theory was advanced that the large amount of water displaced by Olympic had generated a suction that had drawn Hawke off course. The White Star Line lost on appeal. So, interesting. Well, so, like, yeah, also what I was listening to, they were like, did the Olympic, like, break her back? And basically, it was unrepairable. Okay, I'm going back to looking at my notes. Yeah. What a fuck up. Okay, so he's just weird. He's a weirdo. I'm just gonna read my out of order insane notes. So discovered wreck 75 years later, gaping 30-foot hole high above the iceberg's reach? What are you talking about? I don't understand. Millionaire mining czar Benjamin Guggenheim flaunting his mistress on his way home to his wife. At least we'll go out like gentlemen, he says to his butler, since they dressed in their finest evening clothes. Owned by J.P. Morgan, White Star Lines. Head of White Star is Bruce Ismay. Yeah, Bruce Ismay. He's the little bitch. He's the little bitch of the story. I mean, everyone hates him because he's like one of the few men who survived. I guess I can feel bad for him for that, but I don't understand what that means. Millionaire mining czar Benjamin Guggenheim. Oh yeah, so he's a mining czar. Czar? Okay. Okay, so JP Morgan he bought White Star Line in 1902 and wanted to create a monopoly in the transatlantic travel, canceled at the last minute, being on the ship due to illness. There's a guy named Patty Fenton, Patty the Pig, who claims to have been on the Titanic. And like there's a place on the ship where the plating is bent outwards as if from an explosion. And the thing I was watching was just like trying to tantalize you and string you along. But long story short, it was like, perhaps Patty the Pig was correct when he claimed, there's no evidence he was on it, but he had said that like there's an explosion. Also, supposedly it's true there was a fire burning for a long time before, like they had like a coal fire going on that was a problem that was just burning and burning in one of the bunkers. And incidentally, at the time, there was a coal shortage, so there was like hardly any coal, and the SS Californian is the one that was like 4 to 11 miles away. Sorry, Archie got mad because I got mad. I yelled and then probably hurt his ears. Plating is bent outwards as if from an explosion, but they said that it's the air. Kaplat. When it goes on the ground, you know, it goes like a vacuum bag that you like, you know, like when you pop something, like when you, whatever. All the air gets forced out, and that's why it was blown out. At least, I don't know. I've gone so many times back and forth, but I keep sort of ending back up on, like, I think this might actually just be a huge fuck up. There's actually no proof that the people who died were opposed to the Federal Reserve, because that's the conspiracy theory, right? Is that they did it to keep, I don't know. I mean, the crew did have to swear to secrecy, the ones who did survive, under the Official Secrecy Act upon arriving after surviving the sinking. So, I don't know. It's weird. JP Morgan works with Senator Aldrich, who is related to Rockefeller, to work on establishing the Federal Reserve. Supposedly he was seen with his mistress in like Spain or something when he was supposed to be sick and not on the Titanic. But a lot of this, I'm like, I don't know if I believe them. Leland Lines owns SS Californian. JP Morgan was in charge of both ships, Titanic and Californian. Okay, like not in charge of, but maybe owns. Woodrow Wilson signed the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. Wait, so if it was already signed in 1913, Oh, wait. This happened in 1912. April of 1912. It was a Sunday. Great onomatopoeia. Plat. Leads directly to the First World War. And then I just wrote Edward Smith, captain, again. There was a coal fire in coal bunker number 5. Spontaneous combustion from coal rubbing against itself, perhaps. Mr. Andrews, worried the fire may have weakened the steel and compromised the watertight bulkheads. But it wasn't the steel. The thing I was watching, she was like a metallurgist, this lady that studies metal. And she said that it's called slag. Like she focused on the metal. It's wrought iron. Still would have been stronger. Wrought iron with, what's it called? Impurities. Where if they had been facing one direction, they would have possibly strengthened. But they weren't facing that direction. They were 90-degree angles. I don't know. Some weird shit. Still would have been better, I guess, apparently. Yeah, so it was the rivets that weakened the steel plates being held together, like trying to study the weakness of. Excuse me, Judy. What the hell? Where am I? Okay, so worried the fire may. Mr. Andrews was like the designer of the ship. So deaths of Benjamin Guggenheim, Isidore Strauss, I don't know if I spelled that right, and David Astor objected to the Federal Reserve Bank. Rumored they were on their way home to oppose the passing of the Federal Reserve Act. Major competition, even if they weren't actually against it. Yeah, I didn't understand that part. It was just saying they were competition regardless of whether or not they were, I don't know. Dockliner, the New York, got sucked in by the Titanic's wake and almost crashed into them when they were leaving, too. So that's a common occurrence, I guess. Olympic cost $187,000 in today's money to build. O.L. Hollenbeck tugboat stuck in Olympic's backwash. Okay, keep switching. Okay, just 7 months earlier, HMS Hawk, designed to do damage to anything it rams, Captain Smith was found to be at fault by a government inquiry. Another accident 3 months later, Olympic refused to pay for the repairs. Ship list to port. Slight lean to the left. You know what's interesting is that gets me actually a little bit. Yeah, there is a duck. So to port means to left. And in the book that was written, A Night to Remember, which is a really good book. It's very detailed, and I recommend it. It's like an oldie but a goodie. And it does mention a witness that claims that they saw it. Titanic listing to port, which means slate to the left. What are the odds of that? That is something that makes me kind of wonder. Because that's after the crash and, it being possibly unrepairable, the Olympic. I also just wrote Harland and Wolff Limited, whatever that is. There's someone named Thayer on board. I'm just going to call it the Titanic for argument's sake, when I'm like, whatever. Thayer was on board, owns Pennsylvania Railroad. Olympic may not be repairable. These notes are horrible. Titanic has 14 portholes, evenly spaced. Olympic has 16 with variations on porthole spacing, supposedly. The Titanic promenade is open. The two ships were together in Belfast for a week prior to Titanic's departure. The White Star Line's heavily invested in the building of 3 sister ships, the Olympic, Titanic, and Britannic. coal strike in England when SS California crossed from Liverpool to Boston carrying nothing but sweaters. That's weird. That's the weird also. If there's a coal strike when this ship that was like 11 miles away, what the hell? I'm so confused because the thing with the conspiracy theory is it's a bit of a mess because it's like, they're like, no, it was like a planned catastrophe that went wrong accidentally on purpose. And I'm like, come on, what? Like, what could they have possibly... Like, it gets a little fishy and weird. And especially basically when it comes right down to it, show me the blueprints. Can I show that? I really want to show that scene. I'll get in trouble. I always get in trouble for everything. Fuck it, never mind. Just, the Aviator. I need a break. I need a drink. What time is it? 25? Cool. I kind of sensed it was halfway. Yeah, so this the Californian, the one that's like really close nearby, it pisses me off. They're shooting rockets at night while they're sinking. I just don't understand why they didn't go help them. 14 what? Sounds like this is going to a dark place. I don't know what you're talking about, 14, but there were only like 16 lifeboats. And supposedly they had more than they were even required to have. So, the world, I get little like 9/11 vibes when I hear shit like, this was the end to the Edwardian phase, the Edwardian era. Shit, I can't talk. This is the end to the Edwardian era. And, how it led to like all these regulations. They're like, but something good came from it. All right, shut up, go to sleep now. Don't ask any more questions. I mean, I don't know. If it was a con job, it would take a lot of people to be in on it. And they would have had to be willing to kill a bunch of people. And I'm just not sure. And I know people do murder people all the time. But like, the thing is, all kinds of people died in this. Mostly poor people, which pisses me off. I mean, they stopped separating by class supposedly after this. The shitty seats are apparently going to be like lower in the ship, closer to the front. Charged. My Californian stops in the middle of the ice field. Yeah, and it's just weird. What are they doing? I don't know. They have a bunch of sweaters and blankets on board. It's almost like they would have been perfect. Harold Bright on the Titanic wireless receives iceberg warning from Californian, but didn't deliver the message to the bridge until 3.5 hours later. Yeah, I remember he received a response back that said like, go away, I'm busy working the races or something weird. Like he was doing messages about some bullshit. Tapping away, Morse code. So the ship hits the iceberg at 11:40 p.m. The Titanic veered 3 miles toward the ice, off course. Yeah, it did also go off course. It was an unusually clear night. Slick as ice, like real flat, the ocean. Like very silent and very moonless. So very, very dark. And what do they call them? When an iceberg like kind of rolls over and what was in the water is on top, it's almost like black ice. Like they call it something though. It's even harder to see. It's not going to be like snowy, crusty, white, dry, because it was like in the water. So we have black ice here in Utah, like on the street sometimes. Anyway, clear night. Jack Phillips, wireless operator, survived. Wait, I thought you didn't survive. Denies Californian message saying they were stopped, surrounded by ice. I'm confused. Okay, so wireless was newish. You had to be close by. It was spotty. Messages were tricky to retrieve. Regulation distress call. Phillips, 12:15 a.m. Tapped out. CQD. International call of distress. So that, okay, CQD is SOS, but they also did SOS. International call of distress followed by MGY, Titanic's call letters. Californian Groves like to drop by Evans wireless shack to get the news. Okay, so we're on the Californian now, and it's talking about Evans had tried to warn Titanic earlier of the icebergs and received like that message. Titanic had no red rockets to signal trouble, only white ones. Yeah, but I don't know. I kept reading different things. It was saying like they were shooting them off like at 5-minute intervals. He should have known they needed help. Like they turned off their stupid wireless thing and like went to bed. The guy. His name is Lord. His last name. No relation to the guy who wrote A Night to Remember. His last name is also Lord, but they're not related. Titanic had no rockets to signal trouble. Okay. Fired at 1-minute intervals to signal trouble? Wait, I thought I said 5 minutes. Lawrence Beasley, survivor, noticed a list to the left when they were leaving port. Okay. That person who noticed that was named Lawrence Beasley. Titanic propeller stamp 401. Okay, so in the water, the propeller says 401. And I know, they say you could have switched it. But can you? Was it interchangeable? The Titanic had 3 propellers. It was tri something. What do they call it? They also call it screws. They call the propeller screws. Titanic propeller stamp 4. Yeah, so it's in the ocean. It has 401. But people who believe in the thing, blah, blah, blah. Olympic is 400. John Jacob Astor had a dog, an Airedale named Kitty. And that's sad. I think it died. Henry Sleeper Hopper publishing family had his prize Pekingese. Robert W. Daniel. He's a banker, and he had a French bulldog. That's great. That was for people who like dogs, I guess. 6 lookouts. Eyes of the ship. 10 p.m. crows. That's for people that like dogs drowning in the ocean. I can't doggy paddle? No, that's sad. 10 p.m. crow's nest lookout. Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee. It's a dark moonlit night. 31 degrees. Even colder in the crow's nest. Warned to watch, especially for icebergs. Reginald Lee and Freets. Oh, no. It's Fleet. It's funny because, yeah. Anyway, his name's Fleet. Banks the bell because he saw it. These notes are funny. Banks the bell? You mean bangs? I have to fix it. Bangs the bell because he saw it. Ring the bridge. Iceberg right ahead. At 11:37. Boom. It was 11:37. Boom. Smith hands 1 ice warning to his boss, Bruce Ismay. They speed up. Ismay wanted to make a faster trip than the Olympic? Wait a minute. What do you mean? Is this the one they hit or not? Why would you speed up? I'm confused. Okay, this is confusing. 22.5 knots is their speed. Murdoch was told to maintain that speed, but when iceberg orders to reverse engines and orders the rudder to turn hard to port. Titanic sent the first SOS in history. Marconi room. Remember Marconi, you guys? Tesla. We talked about him when we did Tesla. The Californian, the Baltic, the Olympic, the Carpathia, and Crane. The ship's baker, Charles Joffin drinks the entire bottle of whiskey, reaches the stern, and rode it down like an elevator and stepped off, and his head didn't even get wet. Alcohol kept him alive until he was pulled into a boat. Okay, that is like my favorite shit ever. I want to see what he looks like. I got to. that's amazing. How do I do internet? What's his name? I already forgot it. Baker Charles Titanic. Okay. I have to see who did it. Okay. So he's amazing. He had a fun time. I think that's the right one. The badass story of Charles Joffin. It's funny. Should I view the file? Oh, just a picture. Okay, why are they talking about Jack and Rose? I'm trying to avoid that. Chief Baker Charles Joffin reportedly swam for 2 hours in freezing waters before he was rescued. He attributed his survival to the generous amount of whiskey he had before the Titanic sank. I just love the bit about like just riding it down like an elevator and stepping off and not even getting his head wet. It's pretty funny. I heard that the people working in the kitchen were like, not quite crew, not quite passenger. I guess the crew didn't really get a great deal. Like it mentioned how some were dressed in casual clothes and so they were allowed. Yeah, and then there was the whole thing with like women not getting on the boat because they didn't want to like leave their husbands or their whatevers. And then younger boys not being allowed to get on the boats. Like a 13-year-old did get to go with his mom, but they almost didn't let him. They're being jerks. It's like when you fall down but don't spill a drop of beer. Yeah. Very graceful. And I go back and forth in the timeline of events, obviously. So Smith hands one ice warning to his boss, Bruce Ismay, and they speed up. Ismay wanted to make a faster trip than the Olympic had the prior year. Okay, anyway, I don't know if I already read that. Life and accident insurance companies lost $3,464,000. I don't know. Okay, I did actually find an insurance company called Titanic. I thought that was kind of funny because they're like, I don't know. It's kind of bad luck. Played the tells of Hoffman. Last song played. Okay, so they talk about the band playing a bunch of songs all night. I figured alcohol would make you go hypothermic quicker. Weird. Yeah, I don't know. It's not. I mean, it can make you feel warmer, right? But not necessarily be warmer. But you do feel more comfortable and less pain. Black ice when Berg flips upside down. Well, are you gonna tell me what it is? 12,500 feet deep, the boat lies off the coast of Newfoundland. Is that right? Yeah, there's different stories about what the last song played was. I heard it was the song, some Episcopalian hymn called Autumn. Only 13 boats when they got off the Carpathia? Okay, so let's talk about the fictional novel called Futility by Morgan Robertson, who also claims he invented the periscope. Later, he named the changed title The Wreck of the Titan. Written 14 years before the Titanic sank. Changed the title in 1912. Well, Kind of an opportunist there, aren't you? Published in 1898, originally by F.F. Mansfield. Similarities. Sunk in April. Sunk in the North Atlantic. Not enough lifeboats. British ocean liner. Hits iceberg and sinks. SS Titan. Nurse Violet Jessup survived the sinking of both the Titanic and the Britannic. What the hell is wrong with your friggin' boats, dude? William McQuitty, 6 years old, survived, then made the movie A Night to Remember. I want to see that. 900 feet. It was 900 feet long, Titanic, supposedly. I mean, 4 city blocks. 220 feet high. 1 anchor weighs 15 tons. Triple screw means propeller. Made her clumsy and less maneuverable. 12 people in a boat made for 40. Okay, so the lifeboats can fit 40 people. 1,600 people went down with the Titanic. Only 13. Wait, what? 1,600 people went down with the Titanic. Only 13 were taken in by the 18 boats that hovered nearby. Okay. Boat 4 rescued 8 people because it was within reach. Boat 14 was the only one to return to the scene. Dude, they're gonna die fast, you motherfuckers. You gotta get back there quick. Boat 14 only, yeah. Radius of 4 or 5 miles, 18 boats wandered. They just wandered around. Okay, yeah, that is some weird shit. I've been listening to Titanic shit. It's almost like been an hour and I didn't even get into any of the shit. Like, $2:15. The cook says it was 2:15 right before he stepped off the boat. He like looked at his watch right before he stepped off the boat. What the hell? This guy's hilarious. Okay, water was entering at 400 tons per minute. I'm going back to when it first happened, I guess. Wrought iron rivets with impurities called slag. Okay, I already talked about that. Are those? Okay, so I'm done going through my notes and a bit dull by today's standards. Google the definition of fatberg. No, I don't want to be grossed out. Why would I want that? Edward Smith. Okay, so the body of them, it's like the chassis of a car. That's why I ultimately don't believe the conspiracy theory. One of the major reasons is the blueprints. One is curved and one is straight. It's like this thing. Shit. I didn't pull it up ahead of time. I don't know. I don't really. I just don't believe it, ultimately. Do you see him? Captain Smith? He seemed like he was sort of in shock when he first found out, like, what the fuck was happening. And network of wireless operators on ships. Oh, shit. I didn't mean to do that. What the hell? Whatever. Okay, now I'm just on a different page, apparently. These are, oh, I'm not sharing. What the hell am I sharing now? Ugh. Just stop. I don't even know where it was. Okay. Share this one. They said it couldn't sink. They said it was unsinkable. Oh, show me the blueprints. Show me the blueprints. Aft, astern. Where is it? Am I talking about something I can see here? Like when I was looking, the guy was pointing at like this area, saying it was straight, and I don't know. I might be looking at the wrong thing. The Oceanic Steam Navigation Company Limited, owner of the steamship Titanic, and a cause of limitation of liability. Yeah, their insurance sucks. People, dude. I was sort of joking calling this Who Killed Titanic, but it does sort of feel like a murder took place, regardless what, really even anything to do with the conspiracy or whatever. Like, regardless what happened, there was at the very least some mass negligence going on. Like, it kind of blows my mind. The level of people were not concerned. They weren't being told to worry because they knew they were fucked. Like, it was so rare, so seldom hitting an iceberg. And, yeah, like, and there were plenty of kids that died. Like, the third class people. I looked up my last name, and there were, like, second class people with my last name on there. I'm like, huh. Makes sense. I have really, really bad luck in our family. A lot of, the hell is this? Survivors give eyewitness accounts of the sinking. This is pink lemonade. Oh my goodness, I think I like it. I think I've got it turned up too hot. Too hot. Do you guys have any questions? Because I read like everything about it, but for some reason I'm drawing a blank. I listened to that audiobook like 600 times. Like, I'm trying to think. Yeah, they played Nearer My God to Thee. And a lot of the stuff like in the James Cameron thing, it really was like, even though those two main characters were like not real, a lot of the stuff they did was sort of, how, you sort of take real stories and just give that all to the character. Like, some would say that a relationship of trust and understanding is also an unsinkable ship. Okay. I'm worried about you. Stanley Lord. Hold on. Yes, so Stanley Lord is the guy who's on the Californian. He kept saying, what color are the rockets? And they're not red. But it's like, dude, he just turned it off and went to bed. And the Carpathian is the one that rescued everyone. It showed up real fast. As fast as it could. It was like far away, though. I don't know. And they only found a couple bodies, like, ever. Like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 bodies, like, still on the surface there. Getting the chills. And my heater's on. I'm still getting it. I don't like that. You would freeze really fast, I guess, but it's just so horrible. Especially just how quickly it sank. Like, they were trying to use these pumps to keep the water out. Some kind of pumps. No reason to worry, ma'am. And we can keep the water out for a little while, she hears him say down the hallway. And it's like, well, should I worry or not? Motherfucker. They're like, everyone's trying to keep you calm. And it's like, no, don't be calm. Or do. I mean, like, the movie, he was really obsessed. Like, there is a guy that, like, I think he was on the crew and he got to be fancy for a night and be with, like, the rich people. I wish I could see better. Like, there are strangely, oh God, I already saw it. There are strangely few photos of the Titanic, and supposedly a lot of the time the photo, online that you just randomly find that says like Titanic next to it, it's actually the Olympic. So that also causes a lot of confusion. I wish I could watch some of the clips, because there was a guy who, like, the guy who has written The Ship That Never Sank, his name is Robin Gardiner. Gardiner. And I don't know. He kept getting new info, and he might be a little attached to his conspiracy theory. I don't know. He might just be a little bit, but he certainly has researched a lot, and it's worth looking into, I suppose. So that was Charles. Edward Smith. He crashed the Olympic twice leading up to this. He crashed the Olympus twice. And, yeah. Hold on. Bodies floating. What? According to the history books, Sir Arthur Rostron was the hero and Stanley Lord the villain. But how fair is that verdict? On the night of the disaster, Rostron and Lord, both from Bolton, were in charge of two of the closest ships, the SS Carpathia and the RMS Californian. As water poured into the stricken ship, the Titanic's crew fired off distress flares and hammered out SOS messages on the ship's wireless. The Carpathia, more than 50 miles to the southeast, picked up the messages and raced to the rescue through the right? That's what you're supposed to do. All non-essential power on the ship was shut down as Rostron pushed his ship to the limits, ordering his crew to prepare hot food, blankets, and medical care for the survivors. Titanic author Lindsay Sutton said, Rostron and his crew were magnificent. They couldn't have done more. There's a story that as the needle went into the red, the chief engineer of the Carpathia dropped his cap over the dial so no one could see. Okay, well, maybe not. The Carpathia reached the scene 3 hours after the sinking. More than 700 people were rescued. Yeah, but not because you raced there. That was cool and everything. But meanwhile, just 20 or so miles to the north was Captain Stanley Lord in the Californian. Damn Californian. It's like McLean on Die Hard. California. That's what he would say. Lord, unlike Captain Smith on the Titanic, had halted his Boston-bound ship for the night because he was caught in the ice field. Earlier, he told the wireless operators to alert. Yeah, whatever. We already know this fucking message, this story. Harshly treated. It wasn't fair. He was tired, okay? He turned off the wireless and went to bed. All right? So stop talking about my dad and my grandpa. So the SS Californian was used in World War I, and apparently, like, that's what they would do with these kinds of ships when they have wars, is, like, use them in the wars. Like, redo them to be used in the war. Yeah. Like, especially the people with their kids and shit, and just being on the rowboats after one. Okay, this is a weird aspect of it, is like women bickering and being embarrassing. I'm ashamed of them, dumbasses, like in the boats. And maybe it's just a rich women thing. I don't know. You know, there's like the unsinkable Molly Brown, who wasn't like one of them. She was like cool and was hopeful. Some guy had the thought that she was like more of a man than like a lot of the men, whatever that means, you know. Usually it just means that it's a woman who's quite capable. And I don't know, so perhaps tries to make use of herself. And, you know, trying to get the boats to go back, but they were worried that they would be swamped. And one lady like switched boats in the middle of the ocean when they got close to another boat because she was so pissed off that they wouldn't like go back when it first went in, like right when it first went in. And they could hear them dying. They could hear them screaming. They could hear them like all. You didn't have much time from them, but there's that whole thing with getting like sucked towards it too. I just think, wow, this is delicious. I told them, I was like, I want a juice that doesn't taste like shit and smell like shit and piss my sisters off. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I never got. It was a vocabulary word. It was like a funny word for those kinds of icebergs that are black ice. I don't know. I haven't really gotten to say what. I feel like I had dreams about it because I kept falling asleep listening to it. Sorry, I'm sort of just dozing off. What, 56 minutes? They all died. It's going to be cold. And one interesting part in the book is when the guy was walking up the stairs, he's like talking about how he's going upstairs, but it doesn't feel quite right the way his feet are falling on the stairs because they're like, he's like falling into his toes because of the ships. Let's watch that. Well, let me do that. Ship simulation. I'm almost at the end. I want the one I watched before. Wait, is it gonna have stupid music? I'll mute it if it gets stupid. Okay, it's kind of stupid. Yeah, I'm muting it. Is this accurate? 2 hours. It was down in 2 hours. What, quick. It could have stayed afloat if not all 5 of the front things weren't flooded. All 5 were flooded. And not everyone felt very jarred by the collision. A lot of people barely even felt it, while depending where you were in the ship, other people were like thrown out of bed, and like one person had a bunch of ice, like had their window open, and a bunch of people, and you know, the guy's making jokes like, oh, perhaps I can grab the chunk of ice for my highball. People are weird. Like, well, they weren't panicking because they weren't being told to, and it had been jammed in their head so much that this thing was unsinkable. I'm like, that also makes it really suspicious. Was it just what? Hubris. Stopped selling flavored vape juice. I guess they're still doing it. I did write a letter to someone in Utah telling them they should focus on the suicide problem instead of regulating. Okay, what is this shit? I want to watch a. God damn it! I hate you. I hate everybody. Why are you doing this with your camera? Okay, so some guy left his binoculars, that just reminded me, in the locker, accidentally locked, and took his key with him. So like the guys in the bird's nest, I guess, I don't think they had binoculars. There were quite a few fuck ups. It was like, go home, Titanic, you're drunk. Are you gonna like, hello, Archie? Watch here. Go.
Two joints. Oh, it's really neat that they've.
No. What is this shit? Do I have to type James Cameron? Artie, come on.
On her starboard side, each bump shearing rivets and denting the plates, allowing them to separate. The forward compartments flood. The ship slowly sinks by the bow. Water spills over the bulkheads, moving aft. The stern rises, slowly at first, then faster. Finally, unable to support nearly half the ship's weight out of the water, the hull tears apart just aft of the third funnel. The stern falls back, almost level, but the bow, probably still attached at the keel, pulls it back up to stand almost vertically. Then the bow breaks off and sinks away. The stern, high in the air, slowly floods and goes down gently. The bow section falls almost straight down, the flow of water ripping away its fragile external structures. Then it begins to plane at an angle, still trailing debris.
I would trust what he said happened, right?
5 minutes
Especially
after
if he
sinking,
stepped off
half
like
a mile
that.
north, the bow digs into the seabed at
that's
perhaps
true.
20 knots.
If that's true, it was worth
falls
it.
an angled end downward, speed and pressure ripping it apart.
I take it back.
Trapped air creates imploding volumes which further weaken the structure. As the hull and decks begin peeling back, the drag of the broken forward end rotates the stern to fall with the smoother aft end first. The stern lands at a 10 to 30 degree angle and explodes on impact.
Just so they can have like some crazy fancy staircase. Grand staircase. Titanic Explorer, volume 1 of 3. Okay, maybe in a minute. Because first I want to find. Archie, you're making things difficult. Is this going to get blocked? Oh, I'm not even sharing it. Archie, you're distracting me. It's your fault.
This was Eva with her parents just 3 weeks before they boarded the Titanic. They were on their way to a new home in Winnipeg. They never made it. But Eva survived and still carries vivid memories of that night. We reached Eva Hart at her home in Chadwell Heath, near London. Miss Hart, what was your reaction? What went through your mind when you found out that the Titanic had been found?
Oh, well, of course, my immediate reaction was that I, just as it always has been, that I hope they would never raise the Titanic. Because to me, just as a very ordinary individual, it is my father's grave, and I would rather it were left untouched. But today's wonderful news of this tremendously scientific effort makes me realize that if that sort of skill can possibly in the future do marvelous things for these matters, well then of course I accept that it probably will be done.
Your memories of that night must be very clear.
They are indeed.
Can you tell us something about what happened?
Archie.
Well, you know quite well what happened. The ship struck an iceberg, and I, like all 7-year-old children, of course, was in bed and asleep.
People are like going back to the room to read and shit.
My father went with my mother, and took me and placed me in a lifeboat.
Like putting their feet in their boots without their socks on and not zipping them up, not closing their boots.
But I really do owe
they're like in their night
the
clothes.
fortune of my living to the fact that my mother had a tremendous premonition of disaster from the first time that she knew she was going in the Titanic.
Really?
And she said that to say that a ship was unsinkable, which is what the whole world was saying, to say that was flying in the face of God. And she begged of my father not to go. But when we finally went, she said, well, I shall not go to bed at night in that ship. I shall sit up at night and I shall sleep in the daytime.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what she did.
Well, I think her mother survived.
So because she was wide awake, we got on deck.
But they got separated.
To get into one of the all too few lifeboats.
People were stealing babies out of people's arms, try to be like...
But your father did not get in the lifeboat. Why was that?
You know.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know the rule of
I
the
don't
sea,
know.
don't you?
Hoping it would help them get on a
Women and
boat.
children first.
There were these two guys who like jumped
No
into a
man is
boat
going
as
to
it was
take the
being
place of a
lowered,
woman or child.
like just as it
And
was
by the
sinking.
time the
They
women
like
and children were in
tumbled
that
in.
lifeboat, it was full.
Absolutely.
What happened then?
Well, we rowed away from the ship as fast as we possibly could, of course. And then it was discovered that the boat that I was in was very much overcrowded. And so the boats were all called together, and people were put one in another boat and two in another boat if there was room. And in that transshipment, I got separated from my mother, which was quite terrifying.
You were separated from your mother.
I met her the next day, of course, aboard the Carpathia. She thought I'd been dropped in the sea when I was put over the side of the boat. And I was too terrified to know what had happened. I didn't even think about it. All I knew was that she wasn't there, which was quite terrifying.
What did you see
It's funny.
as you rowed away from the ship? Did you
All
see?
I could see was the sinking ship. It was a terribly dark night. Starlit, but no moonlight. And this tremendous ship, which didn't sink for over 2 hours. Horrible sight. Dreadful sight.
Did you see the iceberg?
Yes, I did. It was the other side of the ship from where we were, but as we rowed away and we looked back at the ship, we could see the iceberg, so to speak, behind it. That's the only way I can describe it. It was very large.
Were you old enough to know at the time what was happening to your father?
Oh, yes, of course. I was devoted to my father. I knew quite well I'd never see him again.
Would you like to know now who was at fault for the disaster? Would you like to know anything more about what happened, or does it matter anymore?
It doesn't matter anymore. I know what the fault was. The fault was that that ship was allowed to go to sea with too few lifeboats. And therefore, those 1,513 people who died that night need not have died. And it took a disaster like that to make the Board of Trade alter their regulations, which now says, of course, that you cannot go to sea without you taking enough lifeboats for everyone. But it took a disaster like that to bring that into being.
Because nothing is unsinkable.
Absolutely.
Miss Hart, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
There's this lady who, like, if she heard a certain song, it would give her like PTSD. She would get that feeling and then realize, like, oh, it's because that song's playing. Must have been one that the band was playing. And a lot of the time they were playing ragtime, like upbeat shit. My hair is greasy. I need to take a bathing. How were you doing? Did it cut out? That was CBC. Oh, Titanic. What else do I want to say? What else? Tickets were like $3,000. I don't know. It depended which one you bought. They had a racquetball court. They had I don't know, you guys. It was a big old ship that just like went into the water and it sucked. I think it really did just sink. Okay, so we're good. We're still going. Titanic. Titanic. A lot of people died. Poor people really did get locked like in the things, like this guy wouldn't let them out and then they had to like bust through and yeah, stuff. A lot of stuff. There was this guy whose wallet fell into the ocean as he tumbled into one of the boats after helping. I think he was helping them accidentally because, like in the movie, they were lowering one onto the other boat. It got a little chaotic, and they found his wallet way later. I wish we could watch some of that underwater footage. Let's do that. Like they found his wallet all intact and everything. Okay, I'm not gonna play this silly music. Oh, wait, we have to share it. You gotta share it. Do you see? Yay. You see? Do you see? Do you see? That's rust. Rusticles. It's like icicles, but rust. Promenade deck. You guys, it says 401, and that would be on a lot of stuff on the ship. And people who say it's not possible to have switched everything out, especially to immediately disguise the Titanic. I don't know, long story. I don't know. At the very least, mass negligence. Get off. Why? Why is that there? How do I get that to go away? So creepy. Officers' quarters. It's just all the way down there, like 12,000 feet. It's on a strangely flat area. It was just like slightly tucked into a corner of what was the search area that they couldn't find for a while. The stuff that was finished in such a way that it's like boiler, it can't, fish don't eat it if it's like been preserved like certain types of wood or leather. Ship's whistles. It's dark in there. Yeah, you can only see like 100 feet of it at a time, unfortunately. They don't have anything where they can light it up to where we can see like the whole ship. So that's why it's always like all up close pieces at a time. It's dark down there. Scary and dark. Fiddly great? What's that mean? I just like looking at it. Costa Concordia? Okay. Costa Concordia. Ship's helm and telemotor. Helm? Wireless room. Supposedly, one message was sent that said YAAF, which stood for "You Are a Fool," and I'm like, this is like texting. It's weird. It's kind of like texting. It's like if it weren't for ships, we wouldn't have. It really advanced our wireless communication, having all this ship stuff going on, traveling. Lifeboat Davit Base. Lifeboat Davit Base. Yeah, if you went into the water, you better get in a boat quick. Because if you didn't get out of the water quick, yeah. There was a rumor that a guy tried to dress up like a woman to get on a boat. Like, the captain goes, he's like, what should I do? And he's like, women and children first. and walking around like in a daze, like, oh, carry on. Like just being all weirded out. I think he realized that so many people were going to die. And he died too. A lot of people just died. And it's just weird how cavalier a lot of them. I'm like, were they just in denial or were they just made of different stuff? And it's still effing down there, right? I mean, I guess they haven't disturbed it really other than to film and whatnot. Yeah, I guess not. I mean, they've pulled a few pieces out. Be right back, sinking right now. Yeah, BRB. Sorry, SRY, sinking ATM. Sinking at the moment. LOL. Oh, man. I don't know. Are they going to show? I just want to watch all of it. How long? 116. I just want to see like the whole boat. It's just so weird. It's like I said, 4 city blocks big. Top keck. I guess all the bodies must have gotten eaten quick. Remember, this is the same ocean the SS Indianapolis sunk in. Right? I'm not getting that wrong, am I? Pretty sure it was the Atlantic. Bad luck. Bad luck, Atlantic. People thinking they're coming over here to start their lives. I don't know. There were pictures of the victims and stuff. I say victims. Because it does seem like a murder, dude. It seems criminal what they were thinking they could get away with. Imploded boilers. It's so cool looking. Some of the stuff, yeah, first class, still looks kind of fancy. Electric heater. Stained glass window. Yeah, it's weird seeing the fancy stuff. Oof, I'm getting chills again. Double bottom hole. How long had they even been traveling when this happened? Like a couple days? Not even that. I don't even know how long they were at sea. Forget. Seems like it happened like right away. It's like right off the coast of, what was it? They left Belfast? Or was it Newfoundland? Or is that the same thing? At the end? No? It's just black. Don't scare me. All of a sudden there's like... Okay, is that the end? You just go in black. Okay. Then versus now. Oh, what the hell? Is that a drawing? Yeah, these are drawings. Weird. I could do this all night. I should probably end it. So it's like showing a simulation, I guess. Ah, it's creepy. Why does it creep me out so much? It's down there, so far down there. In the dark. It's like where the girl from The Ring would live. Okay, why are you showing this? Come on. All right. Well, I mean, he really did replicate it quite well. The double stare. Ah, it's so weird. Whistles. Those guys, man, those are the ones that would just die. Try to pump the water out and just die. Okay. That's just about enough, I suppose. There's plenty of people that died to, like, you know, I don't know. Like, so-and-so was doing this to the. And... Okay, sorry, just a little bit longer. There's the video. Archie, stop. Stop it. Stop it. Archie, stop. God. Go. Bad boy. Bad boy. See, people. It's. Oh, there's the people. Look at their mustaches. A lot of immigrants. Yeah, a lot of them couldn't even speak English, so it's like, what's the point of even telling them, like, what to do? Yep. Exactly. He was Jewish. See, Jewish people actually died. She died with him. She didn't want to leave. She's got the weird hairdo. Edwardian. What is that? It's a weird hairdo. It's just like, bloop. Guggenheim. Going down in style. The richest man in the world died. Is it John Jacob Astor? Did I say that right? Why did I say David Astor earlier? Robert. So these are the first class people. Like Fortune. But their son, no. Yeah, so there's a lot where it's like the son and the dad died and the wife and the daughters didn't. The dude's got a rough deal. I mean, I'm sure they were scared too. You know, that sucks. A lot of people that like, oh, that's the designer of the ship. He died. I think he made it a practice to always go on the maiden voyage of his ships and take notes, walk around the ship taking notes. These are all the first class people. Okay. Well, it's getting boring. She's got the hairdo also. Okay, I'm going to stop. It's sad. I don't know. Come to your own conclusions. I think it is just negligence, but don't hate me for it. Okay, and Fallon is still on maternity leave, obviously, but she was thinking we might start doing these on Saturdays instead. We've switched days a few times, so I don't know. Shouldn't matter too much, right? I don't know. And yeah, so we might, I don't know if we would do the next Saturday or what. LinkedIn quality photos. Yeah. I recommend Googling, or not Googling, DuckDuckGoing more Titanic shit because it's weird and it's sad and it's creepy and upsetting. Okay, I'm going to go now. Play some Fallout 76 or perhaps some Sims 4. I'm really sad because a really hot sim that I turned into a vampire, like, I don't know if he malfunctioned, but he stood in the sun for too long and he died. Okay, bye. Everyone have a great night. I love you. Bye.